They didn't reject you. They revealed their inability to meet you. Have you ever wondered why the more you chase, the further things seem to drift? Why the more you explain yourself, the less you're truly understood? Are you tired of begging to be seen, only to be overlooked again? What if the power you've been searching for begins the moment you walk away? They told you that you had to chase. Chase people, chase love, chase dreams. They told you that the more you explained, the more you'd be understood, that the more you begged, the more the world would listen. But did it? What if the opposite was true? What if real power came in silence, in stillness, in restraint? Young man, there will come a time when you will be tempted to run after the world, to prove your worth, to explain your silence, to justify your presence. But the moment you begin to chase, you declare yourself incomplete. The moment you beg, you surrender your dignity. And the moment you over-explain, you place your truth beneath someone else's judgment. Lao Tzu once said, "He who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know." This is not a call to arrogance, but a revelation. When you are truly grounded in yourself, you realize that words often dilute meaning. That presence is stronger than persuasion. Chasing people, especially in relationships or friendships, makes you invisible to yourself. You begin to forget what you truly need. And why? Because you are trying to be seen by others who are blind to their own value. Let that sink in. When you chase, you become the echo of someone else's shadow. But when you stand still in your truth, you become the mountain that echoes through time. The modern world has taught you to be visible, loud, constantly broadcasting your life and your worth. But Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, quietly noted in his meditations, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be one. Do not explain what you are becoming. Simply become. Never beg for what silence should have already answered." You will face days where people walk away. Let them. You will be misunderstood, accept it, and you will be judged by those who barely understand themselves. That, too, is part of the path. In those moments, resist the temptation to chase after explanations, to beg for clarity, to prove your goodness. Real men rising in truth walk away with silence, not with bitterness, but with peace. Imagine this. You are standing at a train station. A train passes by filled with noise, people shouting, inviting you to climb aboard, but you don't, because you know your destination is not found in their direction. That's what it means to not chase. That's what it means to not beg. You sit still, and in that stillness, your path emerges. Epictetus taught, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Begging is a form of bondage. Chasing what you do not control is a form of slavery. And explaining yourself endlessly is a silent confession that you doubt your own foundation. Look around you. The men who are respected, truly respected, are not the loudest or the most reactive. They are not the ones pleading to be seen. They are those who speak less and do more. Those who are not available to every whisper. Those who do not explain why they walked away. They simply vanish, and the world begins to ask why. In your day-to-day life, this may look like not texting someone again who leaves you on seen. It may look like no longer begging for time or attention. It may look like choosing to pursue your craft instead of chasing temporary company. These are not acts of pride, but acts of self-respect. In your work, it means not trying to convince others of your worth. Let the results speak. Let the silence work in your favor. In your friendships, it means allowing distance where respect is absent. In your family, it may even mean choosing boundaries over explanations. You are not here to be decoded by everyone. You are not a puzzle. You are a fire. Some will warm themselves by you. Others will fear you. And both responses are fine. Remember the words of Rainer Maria Rilke. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror. Just keep going. No feeling is final. Even the ache of walking away, of not chasing, will pass. And in its place will rise a man untouchable, unstoppable, and serene. Not by force, but by absence. Not by chasing, but by becoming. And so you walk, not faster, but deeper. Not louder, but clearer. There is a strange kind of silence that comes when a man stops explaining himself. At first, it feels like a death. The death of the need to be understood. the death of being liked, the death of validation. But slowly, quietly, that silence begins to bloom into something else, into a presence so powerful, even your absence speaks volumes. Young man, this is not about becoming cruel. It's about becoming whole. When you stop chasing, you begin to notice the path beneath your feet. When you stop begging, your back straightens. And when you stop explaining, your eyes finally turn inward. This is where the real work begins, not in the arena of the world, but in the workshop of your soul. Kierkegaard once said, "The crowd is untruth." That is to say, the more you try to become something in the eyes of others, the more you drift from who you actually are. The crowd demands performance, but the self demands silence, solitude, reflection. And it's only in that solitude that you realize you were never meant to chase love, but to embody it. Never meant to explain truth, but to live it. Why beg for what should be freely given? Respect, love, loyalty. These cannot be coerced. And when you chase after them, you only attract their hollow imitations. Think back to the moments when you chase something, a job, a person, a compliment, and ask yourself, did you feel powerful or did you feel smaller? That's your answer. If you change and someone cannot meet you at your new height, let them go. You're not responsible for their altitude. Many young men feel guilt when they stop explaining themselves, especially to those closest to them. But remember, if someone truly knows your heart, they won't need explanations. And if they demand explanations for your peace, they were never listening to begin with. In your daily life, you will see it again and again. You may start working on a new business and people will ask, "Why are you wasting your time?" You may pull away from toxic company and they'll say, "You've changed." You may stop showing up for others who never showed up for you, and they'll ask, "Why are you distant?" You owe them no story, only truth. And sometimes truth comes cloaked in silence. Seneca said, "Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Welcome those whom you yourself can improve." The process is mutual. But if you're explaining your value in a room where no one listens, you're not improving, you're bleeding. Walk out, let your absence be your explanation. There's a great illusion in our culture that silence is weakness, that not chasing means indifference. But history tells a different story. The great leaders, the legends, the warriors, they did not run after anything. They attracted by focus, by discipline, by stillness. The samurai had a concept, mushin, the mind without disturbance, a state where reaction ends and control begins. When you chase, you are disturbed. When you beg, you are disturbed. When you explain endlessly, your mind is not still, it is chaotic. You give your power away piece by piece, but what happens when you stop? You begin to radiate, quietly. People feel it, they don't know what it is, but they feel the shift. You become the man who no longer needs to be chosen to feel valuable. You become the man who no longer negotiates his presence. And in that, you become rare. Not because you try to, but because you stop trying. In your relationships, this philosophy will feel like choosing solitude over half-love. It will feel like walking away from conversations where your soul is not heard. It will feel like not clarifying your worth to someone who keeps forgetting it. These are hard decisions, but they are sacred ones. Let others chase noise. You chase clarity. Let others beg for approval. You walk with resolve. Let others explain their every move. You simply move and let your trail speak. In a world where everyone is performing, your refusal to perform is revolutionary. In a world obsessed with relevance, your indifference is powerful. Because the more you need the world, the more it owns you. But the less you need it, the more it comes to you. Viktor Frankl, who survived the darkest of human conditions, said, "When we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves." That's the essence of this path, not to chase the external, but to evolve the internal. Because once you become the man who no longer begs, chases, or explains, you don't just change how others see you, you change how you see you. There's a power that begins to form in you once you understand this truth, that walking away isn't weakness, it's wisdom. And still, most young men wrestle with the guilt of choosing themselves, because from a young age, you were taught that sacrifice means losing yourself for others. But no one told you that sacrifice without boundaries turns into self-erasure. You disappear, while everyone else claps for your obedience. You were not born to shrink into someone's comfort zone. You were born to expand into your full form. And that expansion requires you to let go of the need to be understood, accepted, or praised. Michel de Montaigne once said, "The greatest thing in the world is to know how to belong to oneself." Think of that for a moment. How many of your daily actions are truly yours? How many of your explanations are made out of fear rather than clarity? How often do you chase not because you desire, but because you're afraid of being forgotten? The world will tell you that you must constantly justify your decisions. But if you live like that, you'll always be on trial in a court that doesn't care about truth, only comfort. You must stop defending your evolution. If you decide to build a business instead of chasing a degree, let them misunderstand you. If you choose a quiet life over noise, let them mock your stillness. If you walk away from a relationship that suffocates your growth, let them call you cold. Do it anyway. This is what it means to not chase. It means you don't pursue what doesn't already recognize your value. You don't convince. You don't argue. You don't explain a soul that is still in the process of becoming. Because to define it too soon is to limit what it might become. Remember when Socrates said, "To find yourself, think for yourself." This is your path, and your path does not need consensus. Too many young men fall into the trap of becoming mirrors. They reflect what others want them to be. They absorb expectations, chase approval, and lose themselves in the process. But a mirror cannot cast light, it only reflects it. You must become the flame. Every time you chase someone's approval, you extinguish a part of your own fire. Every time you beg for closeness, you cheapen the intimacy. Every time you explain your worth to someone committed to misunderstanding you, you give away what was never meant to be debated. Let them misjudge you. Let them underestimate you. Let them talk behind your back. That is where they belong, behind you, because your future doesn't need their permission. It needs your presence. Fully, without apology. You don't explain storms. You don't chase the wind. You don't beg the sun to rise. You become the force that moves without noise, the presence that leaves no need for explanation. That's who you are when you stop chasing and start becoming. Let me speak directly to you now, brother. You've been taught to overcompensate for your fear, to talk more, post more, try more, reach more. But there is another way, a way so still, so quiet that most won't even see it, but those who matter will feel it. The quiet man who knows who he is walks into a room differently. He doesn't scan for approval. He doesn't adjust his voice to be heard. He doesn't explain where he's been, because his presence answers all the questions before they are even asked. And this doesn't mean isolation, it means precision. You're not isolating yourself, you're becoming more selective, not because you're arrogant, but because you're focused. You begin to realize that not everything deserves your energy, not every message needs a reply, not every conflict needs resolution, and not every goodbye needs closure. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Freedom is what you do with what's been done to you. If you were abandoned, use it to strengthen your solitude. If you were overlooked, use it to master your craft. If you were misunderstood, use it to deepen your silence. Every scar becomes a scripture, every wound a warning, every pain a pointer back to your own soul. And in that space, you find something most people spend their lives chasing in others, peace. The moment you chase, you announce to the world that it is above you. You begin to realize the only person you ever needed to explain yourself to is yourself. So stand tall in your decisions, even if you're shaking. Walk away in silence, even if your heart trembles. And let the world keep talking. Because while they chase noise, you are chasing mastery. While they beg for attention, you are building discipline. While they explain their identity, you are becoming yours. Some will say this path makes you cold, but the truth is, it makes you clear. Clarity is often mistaken for cruelty by those who benefit from your confusion. When you stop chasing, people feel abandoned, but what they're really missing is their control over your movement. When you stop begging, they say you've grown distant, but what they're really noticing is that your self-respect has finally started speaking louder than your desperation. This path is not about building walls, it's about building gates, and not everyone deserves to walk through them. Arthur Schopenhauer once wrote, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone. Solitude is where your soul speaks, where your true desires rise above the noise of others. When you chase the world, you drown out that voice. But when you stop chasing, you finally hear it. It whispers at first, then grows louder. And with each act of restraint, that voice becomes a command. In your day-to-day life, you'll notice small but powerful moments where this philosophy demands to be lived. You'll be in a conversation where someone disrespects you subtly, expecting you to laugh it off. You won't. You'll walk away, and they'll call it sensitive, but you'll know it was self-worth. He who explains himself too much is already doubting himself. You'll be in a room where your silence is mistaken for emptiness, but you'll say nothing because your silence is not empty, it is full of power. And soon they'll begin to wonder, why does he say so little, yet seem so complete? This is not about playing games. This is about embodying gravity. And gravity doesn't chase, gravity draws, gravity anchors, gravity holds. Stop explaining your dreams to those who mock them. Stop justifying your decisions to people who wouldn't carry even a day of your burden. Stop lowering your standards just to be accepted in rooms that drain you. You're not meant to be tolerated. You're meant to be respected. And if that means walking alone for a while, walk like a king with no court. And yet, in that stillness, you become dangerous. Not because you harm, but because you cannot be moved. When you stop explaining yourself, you force the world to face the mystery of your rise. You're no longer the man who texts 3 times after being ignored. You're no longer the one who pours into others just to be seen. You're no longer the one explaining why your silence is necessary. You live it, you own it, you wear it like armor. And here's the paradox. The moment you no longer need the world's validation, it begins to come to you. You focus on your craft, you wake up early, you master your body, your finances, your mind. You walk with clarity, even when no one's watching. And the world begins to take notice. Not because you shouted, but because your silence roared. You become the man who no longer needs the party, because he is the presence. You become the man who doesn't explain where he's going, because his direction is carved into his discipline. You become the man who no longer tries to prove he's good, because goodness has been etched into his habits. This is not a fantasy. This is the man you're meant to be. But to become him, you must stop wasting your breath. Let your energy return to you. Let your focus sharpen. Let your silence speak. You are not a beggar. You are not a chaser. You are not a spokesman for your own soul. You are the one who stands unmoved in the storm. You are the one who disappears when respect vanishes. You are the one who watches doors close without chasing what walked out. You are becoming him now. And yes, there will be loneliness, but it will be a sacred kind of loneliness, the kind that forges leaders, not followers, the kind that sharpens vision, the kind that calls destiny closer. Do not fear it, embrace it, and never explain it again. Some will say this path makes you cold, but the truth is, it makes you clear. Clarity is often mistaken for cruelty by those who benefit from your confusion. When you stop chasing, people feel abandoned, but what they're really missing is their control over your movement. When you stop begging, they say you've grown distant, but what they're really noticing is that your self-respect has finally started speaking louder than your desperation. This path is not about building walls. It's about building gates, and not everyone deserves to walk through them. Where your true desires rise above the noise of others. When you chase the world, you drown out that voice. But when you stop chasing, you finally hear it. It whispers at first, then grows louder. And with each act of restraint, that voice becomes a command.